Woman makes fun of elderly man while flying without knowing who he is. Welcome to USA Stories channel. Do not forget to subscribe and activate the bell button to receive all new updates. Now let's go to the story. The normal buzz of the engines and the whispers of passengers getting comfortable in their seats filled the cabin of the aircraft. Mrs. Harrow, a young, well-dressed white woman, was standing in the aisle, her finger pointing accusingly at an old black man who was seated near the window and her face contorted with contempt. With a tone full of disdain, she said, "I will not sit next to this man." As people turned to watch the altercation play out, the temperature in the plane seemed to decrease. Marcus, the old guy, had arrived on the airplane with minimal fanfare. He had retired as an African-American history professor, and he was on his way to a symposium to receive recognition for his services to the subject. Despite encountering bigotry several times in his life, Marcus maintained his composure. The only offense he committed today was sitting next to Mrs. Harrow, who felt he wasn't worthy of first class. The flight attendants hurried to defuse the situation as Mrs. Harrow carried on her rant. One of them said, "Please, let's all take our seats and discuss this calmly." But Mrs. Harrow was certain in her decision. "He most likely can't afford this seat." She said, "He could take anything from me." Those around her were horrified by her unfounded claims. Keeping his composure, Marcus grabbed his phone and started live streaming the interaction. He was aware that in the era of digital technology, information may travel swiftly and expose injustice. His voice a calming counterpoint to her harshness. "Ma'am, I'm just here to travel, same as you," he remarked quietly. Mrs. Harrow's face was a mask of fury as she crossed her arms. She said, "I don't believe you. People like you don't belong here." Marcus groaned and gave a little shake of his head. "And what kind of people are those, ma'am?" "You understand exactly what I mean," she shot back, her voice getting louder. "This is first class, not the back of the bus." The flight attendants looked at each other nervously, not knowing just how to react to the rapidly worsening situation. A young woman called Sarah was one of them, and she moved forward. "Please, ma'am, let's attempt a diplomatic resolution to this. If you're not comfortable, we can locate you a different seat," Mrs. Harrow argued. "I shouldn't have to move. He should be the one to go." With composed and determined gaze, Marcus turned to face Sarah. "I'm not going anywhere. I'm perfectly allowed to be here." Sarah acknowledged Marcus's position with a nod. "Obviously, sir. Everyone, please try to maintain your composure." While Marcus was live streaming the event, he was reminded of his late wife Clara and how she had always pushed him to confront bigotry with grace and respect. He reminisced about their numerous trips together and how, despite discrimination, they had always faced the world together. The tension in the cabin increased as Mrs. Harrow leveled her charges. She immediately cried out, her voice falsely indignant, "He's stolen my watch! I demand the police be called!" Her remarks reverberated throughout the cabin, serving as a sobering reminder of the huge gaps in the advancement of society. The passengers looked at one another nervously, not knowing where to look. A man seated a few rows back got to his feet. "I saw everything," he said. This man remained seated on his chair. Nothing was taken by him. Mrs. Harrow gave him a fierce look. "Mind your own business." The man firmly said, "It is my business when someone is falsely accused. You should be ashamed of yourself." Marcus's live broadcast captured every minute as the crisis worsened. Supporting and indignant replies flooded the comments area. One remark said, "Marcus, we stand with you." "This cannot be tolerated," stated someone else. He received support from the digital community, whose voice became stronger by the moment. In response to Mrs. Harrow's unfounded charges, police officers boarded the plane as soon as it touched down. Standing tall and confident that her falsehoods would be proven true, she exulted. "At last, take this man into custody." She said, "He's a liar and a thief." Instead, the cops came up to her after learning about it from Marcus's live video. "Ma'am, we need to talk to you about your accusations," an officer said sternly. Everyone in the cabin became silent as the gravity of the situation descended upon them. Marcus experienced both relief and regret. Although he hadn't intended to engage in this conflict, he felt he had to oppose such overt bigotry. His mind shifted to all the children he had guided throughout the years, hoping this episode would teach them the value of bravery and moral rectitude. The passengers stared in disbelieving silence as Mrs. Harrow's facade shattered and Marcus's phone revealed the inevitable truth. Her victorious face gave way to a defeated one as the cops led her off the aircraft. Marcus was shook, but he didn't lose his cool. His calm strength was a ray of hope. "I appreciate you standing up to her," a fellow traveler leaned down and said in a whisper. "You carried it off so elegantly." Marcus nodded, resolve and tiredness mixed together in his gaze. It's not easy, but it's necessary. When the incident's video went viral, there was an outpouring of sympathy for Marcus and disapproval of Mrs. Harrow's behavior. After being covered by media, the incident swiftly came to represent the continuous fight against racial discrimination. Marcus was commended for his cool-headed and respectful answer, and he was asked to share his story on a number of venues to spread the word about respect and tolerance. Following the incident, Marcus got a lot of responses from individuals who were impressed by his calmness and fortitude. The symposium organizers reached out to him and conveyed their admiration and support. Marcus's narrative served as a reminder of the value of sticking up for what is right and the strength of truth, in addition to bringing attention to the ubiquitous problem of racial discrimination. Marcus thought back on his journey to this point as he readied himself for his symposium address. Knowing that his acts had started a worthwhile discourse gave him a new feeling of purpose. His late wife Clara, whose steadfast support had always been his beacon of hope, was honored with a speech devoted to her. Marcus observed the audience from the podium on the day of the symposium. Taking a deep breath, he addressed the group, aware that his words and deeds may have an impact. He felt Clara next to him as he talked, a reassuring reminder that he was never fighting this battle alone. Marcus said in a strong and firm voice, "The tragedy on that plane served as a vivid reminder of the work that still has to be done, but it also demonstrated the possibility of change. The truth, no matter how difficult to accept, may shine through the shadows thanks to social media's ability to magnify the voices of people who oppose injustice." Touched by Marcus's comments and his steadfast dedication to justice, the crowd listened carefully. The gathering exploded in cheers as he finished his address, a standing ovation that highlighted the significance of his words. With determination and thankfulness in his heart, Marcus walked down from the podium. Although he was aware of the difficult path ahead, he was prepared to carry on the struggle for respect and equality. He felt a newfound feeling of optimism and resolve, with the support of innumerable people and Clara's memory serving as a beacon. For everyone who attended the symposium, including Marcus, it turned out to be a pivotal moment. His experience was a potent reminder that any bravery, no matter how modest, may make a significant difference in a greater movement for change. With the awareness that his trip was far from done, Marcus departed the stage, but that he wasn't the only one seeking to create a society that was more compassionate and just. This tale serves as a potent reminder of how pervasive racism still is and how crucial it is to confront it with grace and respect. Marcus, a retired professor, experiences overt prejudice but handles it coolly and resolutely, utilizing contemporary technologies to reveal the unfairness. His deeds inspire a surge of solidarity and demonstrate the power of honesty and morality. We discover that racial discrimination still persists and that it may show up anywhere. Marcus responded with dignity and composure, setting an example for how to deal with similar circumstances. His live feed became viral, demonstrating the ability of social media to hold people accountable and draw attention to injustices on a large scale. This event also emphasizes how important it is to keep up the fight against discriminatory thoughts and actions. It makes us think about what we've done and how important it is to support people who are discriminated against. If you had been in Marcus's shoes, how would you have handled the situation? What is the extent to which social media may be used to counteract bias, and what are its limitations? Please remember to subscribe to our channel, give us a thumbs up, and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss any of our videos. If you enjoyed the tale, the next video that plays on your screen will probably move you too.